we have a LinkedIn report which highlights a massive pressure on HR leaders, the HR executives. 86% of them being tasked by their managers or the CEOs to build an AI-ready workforce. I've heard a lot of friends saying that they are instructed that do not use AI. This was 1 year ago. And now their managers are emphasizing that you must learn AI immediately. So, like, how do we deal with that thing, and how HR executives are like? How should they deal with this problem now?
See, first of all, readiness on paper or pilot isn't really readiness in terms of your production or your entire workflow, your entire organization. That is one paradox that you're seeing, right? Like for example, let's say you had a 20-member HR team and 2 members tried AI. You still have 18 people who haven't tried AI. Similarly, then HR is complex. It does not have just one workflow. HR has multiple workflows. So if you tried AI on one workflow, that doesn't mean that it will behave the same way on all the workflows. All these reports that you read, actually they don't tell you that the guys who have tried AI, how many of them had success, how many of them feel confident. And you'll be surprised to know that research shows only 1/3 of the people who actually tried AI feel confident. So in the sense that, see, you can do a lot of learning initiatives. You can do a lot of pilots. You can do a lot of experiments. But you have to see what is the completion rate, and you have to see the success rate. That requires a lot of groundwork on metrics, a lot of groundwork on process understanding, a lot of groundwork on alignment. And see, to be fair to HR, HR has suddenly got, you can say, thrown at the seat of action, and they're also like any other function. Like, it's not like they have some magic wand that they're suddenly more ready than supply chain, or more ready than finance, or more ready than marketing or sales. But because of their functional area, they are the first in the line of fire, because they handle human resource. They have to plan the organization design, they have to plan the skilling, and they're the first to get the training requirements, and they come under pressure, both ways. If the organization is right sizing because of AI, then also they come under pressure. The organization has to quickly add on a AI expert, then also they come under pressure. So to be fair to HR is still decoding the whole transition like you and me are decoding. There are 3 layers to this gap. The first is conceptual clarity. AI is not just about knowing prompt engineering or, just coding. Sometimes we think that, okay, hire a developer and he'll code my use case, and then that is AI. Or we will think that, okay, now, my team knows how to write prompts and feed it to the LLM, and we're getting output from the LLM, and that is AI. It's not like that. 80% of the work in an organization to make it ready from an HR lens has to be on AI literacy and AI fluency. And that is what Blitz is all about. Blitz is all about AI literacy revolution and AI fluency revolution. Now, the second layer in the gap is capability design. Now, look at how traditional training works. Now, traditional training works always top down. Always top down. Like whether you do it in-house through your in-house L&D team, or whether you hire a vendor to do it. Typically, a CEO gives the brief to the HR head or the training head, and then the brief goes to the vendor. And I'll give you a classical gap example. Let's say you're in sales, and let's say your organization has planned a training. Now that training is on the Gen AI architecture, and Gen AI is driven by transformers. We all know that the core engine behind Gen AI is transformers. Now imagine a sales guy. Now he will relate to it for the first 15-20 minutes. After that, the question is mine. I'm missing a client meeting for this training. I'm not in the field, and I'm sacrificing my sales time, and I don't even understand what I'm seeing. I don't care about the architecture beyond a point. Fine. I need to know 2-3 buzzwords. That's okay. Because I need to talk in the language of the technology. But finally, I need to understand how the technology is transforming my function. What is it doing to sales? How is my lead conversion going up? How are my emails to clients getting better? How is my email marketing improving? And how am I making more contextual decks for the client? So that is the training you need for the sales guy. You don't need to, torture your sales guy by making them sit for a 2-hour transformer architecture presentation. Now, that is what happens when training is top down. That is when your training does not translate to any capability building. The third layer is that, failure in any experimentation in the corporate world, especially, and even in small and medium organizations, is not seen correctly. Failure becomes career limiting very soon in the culture we have typically in our country. Barring a few startups, barring a few modern progressive organizations, majority of the organizations, failure is seen as career limiting, and that is what kills the curiosity, that is what kills the experimentation. So, there has to be a cultural change also. When we expect employees to be more AI ready and integrate AI in their workflows, they should be allowed some experimentation within guardrails without making the failure become career limiting for them. So there has to be a safety net, and there has to be some patience for the metrics, for the uplift to happen on your core metrics. Okay, so basically, very quickly, what is the playbook? How to solve this? So I would say that how Blitz designs this is in three concentric circles, in three loops. One is self-learning. Any department head, even the HR head or the L&D head, first you have to self-learn. First you have to do your homework. First you have to learn AI before giving gyan to your rest of the organization that you need to be AI literate or all that. So first experience the friction yourself. First experience the toughness yourself, and first experience the value yourself. Second, map capability to workflow, not to the designation. Now, the classical mistake HR does is that they pick up roles, they pick up designations, and they plan training or they plan skilling. That is completely wrong. It doesn't work in AI that way. You have to pick up use cases, you have to pick up workflows, and you have to train and skill using workflow design. That is when it will add to capability building. So you have to map capability to workflow, not to designation. The third thing we do at Blitz is that you institutionalize a feedback and a reflection loop. It's very important to reflect what is working, what is not working. So after a training batch, the key questions to ask are: what surprised you? What new did you learn? How do you think you can use this in your workplace? And that becomes a design for your next training or your next skilling. So it has to be a continuous learning loop, even for the trainers, even for the HR team. It cannot be a one-time exercise. Okay, I mean, you're reporting to the CEO that, I told you that I will train the 1,000 people that we have, and I have trained the 1,000 people that we have on Gen AI fluency and finished. Nothing is going to change. You have to bifurcate it by workflow, by capability, and look at these self-learning loops, look at mapping capability to workflow design, and having an institutionalized feedback loop and reflection loop.